Hey folks, what kind of a person falls for something like the stuff that Chad and Lori Daybell's Doomsday belief system was promoting? Now, my research into cult behaviors for the past 30 years points to some personality characteristics that just might surprise you. So let's talk about the people who fell for Chad and Lori's cult. And yes, I'm calling it a cult. Well, I've been fortunate to call some of the world's leading experts in cult research my friends. People like Yanya Lalick and Rick Ross. You know, I started studying cults during my investigation of the Zion Society cult in 1991. This was a cult of more than 100 adults who were sexually assaulting children. We convicted 12 people in the case of serious sexual offense and rescued 32 children from ongoing abuse. That case landed me a statewide role as the chief investigator of ritual crime, where I investigated another 300 plus cases of ritual child abuse and coercive mind control. As the point person for the Attorney General and the legislature, I came to know the self-proclaimed prophets of all the different polygamous cults and closed societies in my state. I learned about their belief systems, and most importantly, the way in which they recruited and maintained members. I hope you'll take a moment, hit the like and the subscribe button, and ring that bell for timely notifications when we do videos like this. And thanks for supporting us at Profiling Evil. Now, let's dig into this and look at some of the characteristics that Chad and Lori Daybell exploited to keep their cult going and growing. Chad and Lori Daybell belonged to an online group that touted spiritual and physical disaster preparedness, a place where folks could learn about things like 72-hour emergency kits or things to have on hand in case something happens that makes going to the store impractical or impossible. You know, things like pandemics where you can't find hand cleaner or toilet paper. I mean, it's a good thing to be prepared. Sadly, some people take it to an extreme. Now, the online forum that the Daybells belong to caused enough concern to groups like the Southern Poverty Law Center to write an August 2020 article where they labeled that group as an anti-government extremist group. Let's take a moment and watch this report from Fox 13 News, where the creator of that website talks about how he supported Daybell then and when he withdrew his support.
Well, you might remember for months, there was only one person close to Chad Daybell or Lori Vallow willing to defend them publicly, saying that they know, quote unquote, the real story about what happened to JJ and Tylee. His name is Christopher Parrott, and this is just one of the messages he posted in an online forum. You can see it right there on your screen in big, bold words, vindicated. Quote, Chad and Lori called me tonight and we spoke for almost a full hour. I am here to tell you I feel totally vindicated in standing up for Chad. Sue, my wife, and I now fully understand what had been going on from day one, including what's been going on with the kids and his wife, Tammy's death. At the time, he went on to blame, quote, lies that have been posted on social media and in the lamestream news. He promised their story in all of its detail is coming soon. And the only hint he gave is that this was a, quote, nasty, ugly custody case being driven by grandma. Today at their home in Rigby, Idaho, the Parrott's tone changed drastically. They did not apologize for their post, but they said they feel terrible, that they had no idea the kids were dead, that their hearts and prayers are with the family, that they're sick to their stomach, and they said they want people to know they had nothing to do with this. The question I asked is, what is the story Chad Daybell told you? They said they didn't feel comfortable sharing because they don't want to interfere with an ongoing investigation, other than to say, obviously, Chad lied to us. Reporting in Rexburg, Adam Herbets, Fox 13 News.
Daybell created quite a following through the website and preparedness seminars that he would speak at. There, his cult members would sometimes travel across state lines to hear Chad preach his end-of-world doctrine, purchase his books on calamity issues, and listen to him speak of his visions and beliefs of reincarnation or visits with dead people. Before long, Lori joined in on the groundswell, and she began doing podcasts where she preached her own version of spiritual elitism. Together, it appears that the two zealots became really caustic. In a KUTV news report, cult members were splitting on their support of the couple on this website. One said, quote, "This is just plain not good. I do hope Chad didn't do anything horrible, but I don't feel good about it either," close quote. Another person wrote, "I pray that the children are found unharmed, but something is not adding up here." My friend, Dr. Janja Lalich, a cult expert and professor emeritus, defines a cult as a sharply bounded social group or a diffusely bounded social movement held together through shared commitment to a charismatic leader. It upholds a transcendent belief system, often but not always religious in nature, but that includes a call for personal transformation. It also requires a high level of personal commitment from its members in word and deed. Well, this was the first clear and defining marker I found in the Daybell cult. Chad and Lori demanded their followers have a belief system that aligned with their own doomsday ideologies. The internet provided a forum for like-minded people to come together and to feed off of each other. Followers believed that Chad and Lori were a deity of sorts, special people who had a personal connection with their God. And I hope you caught that I said their God. Perhaps even being gods themselves that had every action revolving around them and their success. And anyone who would believe otherwise was either not spiritual enough or, zombies. Rick Alan Ross of the Cult Education Institute teaches that cults have charismatic leaders who possess the ability to influence their members to dedicate everything they have to the movement. Whatever the leader says is right, whatever they say is wrong, is wrong. Well, Chad and Lori may not have been charismatic personalities in our minds, but they certainly were to their followers. They represented a pathway to righteousness. They were smart enough or cagey enough to get people to follow them and believe that they too were more enlightened and special. They got those that followed them to think they were important. This sense of greatness was intoxicating for the people that followed, and they would end up sacrificing a great deal to be part of this movement. For some, it meant moving to be near the Daybells. For others, it meant divorcing their spouses, some of many years, leaving their families and stable support systems. For others, it provided a vehicle for their own ideology, their own books and podcasts to gain an audience. Well, in that KUTV report we saw, one of the followers expressed concerns, but another immediately defended Daybell by saying, and we watched that video, "We know Chad is a visionary and can communicate beyond the veil. There are so many righteous possibilities here," he said. "There is no reason to jump to negative ones." He then counseled the other group members, think about Chad's character. Which scenario is more like him? That he's an adulterer, kidnapper, and murderer? Or that he's on some errand from God, trying to protect his new wife and kids? I'm going to let you answer that one while we watch this new video.
Some strange details released tonight in the case against Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow.
The couple is accused of killing Lori's children as part of a series of crimes with ties to multiple states, including here in Utah. Jeremy Harris has been combing through thousands of pages just released by police in Arizona. So, Jeremy, where did these records specifically come from?
Well, they come from Chandler Police. That's the agency that was investigating the death of Lori Vallow's ex-husband, Charles. They gave us 2,500 pages that outline what police were doing during that time when this case was gaining national attention. This may be the last photo of young J.J. Vallow ever taken alive. The metadata shows it was taken on the day before investigators believe he was killed in 2019. It is one of thousands of records unsealed by Chandler, Arizona police. What's not redacted in the files shows how investigators traced the footsteps of Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell after Lori's children, JJ and Tylee, vanished. That includes cell phone tracks and call logs. Investigators were also monitoring the online chats of Another Voice of Warning, an online forum where Chad published his religious thoughts. As news of Chad and Lori began getting national attention, members of the group began reacting, some saying they were concerned about what Chad had done, and others defending him and Lori, like this post. Think about Chad's character. Which scenario is more like him? That he's an adulterer, kidnapper, and murderer, or that he is on an errand from God and trying to protect his new wife and kids. The records also show Lori's family members were pushing investigators to look into the death of her ex-husband, Charles Vallow, and express concerns that the children were in immediate danger. Dozens of pages from that investigative file reveal that police had multiple psychics who'd contacted them saying that they had received some sort of revelation in regards to this case. It didn't look like any of those tips, though, from the psychics really panned out. Back to you.
Well, Jeremy, so many twists and turns in this case. So where does the case stand right now?
Well, right now, both Daybell and Vallow are both charged with first-degree murder in Idaho. Lori Vallow was recently found incompetent to stand trial. She's now in a mental health facility. Chad Daybell's trial is scheduled to start this fall. Lori Vallow is also charged with conspiracy to commit murder in Arizona.
Well, the Daybells exploited one of the most powerful control mechanisms a cult leader can use with their followers. Get them to believe that they're elite and they're specially exalted themselves. Chad and Lori spoke often of the special status that they had, and people wanted to be close to them. They demanded unquestioning commitment from those who followed them. Think about the recordings that you've heard online of Lori and Chad talking to a witness. You can hear them subtly chastising the witness and attempting to renovate their memories and understanding of what they think they saw and heard and what they frankly knew they saw and heard. Cult leaders also need to make money, and in some cults it happens through cult member gifts or donations, the dedication of time and labor. Now, Chad and Lori added an interesting dynamic to this, and it appears that life insurance policies and government assistance provided the funds that they needed to keep them going, and it may prove to be the common link in a number of murders that brings them down. Cult leaders demand absolute compliance. If any of their followers question their action, their doctrines, or instruction, they're immediately corrected, shunned, even punished. In other words, they could even be labeled unrighteous or, much worse, a zombie. Punishments could range from being ignored by other believers to being minimized, disenfranchised, or in the case of zombies, much worse. For a time, Chad and Lori Daybell were successful building a support system of like-minded people around them. But as their actions and doctrine became more bizarre, some followers experienced an awakening of sorts, and they distanced themselves. Others continued to defend them up and until Tylee Ryan and J.J. Vallow were unearthed in Chad's backyard. Now, I suspect that there are some who are still patiently waiting for the long prophesied apocalyptic day that Chad preached about. Dr. Lalick once said that cults are a mirror of what's inside the cult leader. He has no restraints on him. He can make his fantasies and desires come alive in the world he creates around him. He can lead people to do his bidding. He can make the surrounding world his world. What most cult leaders achieve is akin to the fantasies of a child at play, creating a world with toys and utensils. Well, as I reflect on where we are today, I wonder if Chad and Lori are sitting in their jail cells, thinking about how their reality today isn't as cool as their fantasy was. Maybe, and I believe it's a long shot, but maybe They are feeling some sense of remorse and responsibility. Perhaps their thoughts are turning to their victims instead of to themselves. And again, I'm going to watch for your comments below on this. But regardless, my hope is that the quiet time they have to reflect may lead one or both of them to confess and clarify what happened to Tylee Ryan, Joshua J.J. Vallow, Tammy Daybell, Charles Vallow, and perhaps Joseph Ryan, and undoubtedly Alex Cox. I mean, heck, there could be more. Who knows? Neighbors who stumbled into something they shouldn't have. Associates who got in the way. We may never know the depth of this probable conspiracy and ill-fated plan. Well, if you're interested in cult characteristics and how leaders like Chad and Lori Daybell get away with serious crime, then check out my book, Deceived, an investigative memoir of the Zion Society cult. It outlines a case that's, quite frankly, eerily similar to this case. It's available in hardback at profilingevil.com or paperback at Amazon. You can also get it on ebook. So here's my assignment for each of you. You've heard my opinions on Chad and Lori and whether they're in a cult. Do you agree they were leaders of a cult? I'm going to be reading your comments down below. And thanks for watching. Please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Ring the bell and make sure you get all the notifications. And we'll see you soon at the next crime scene.